All right, we are live.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Library Commission September 21st meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Library Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. We'll start with our roll call. I'm Katie Hadrovich, the chair of the Library Commission, and I would like to introduce staff and Library Commission members present. Mayrin Bunyagit is here, Ellen Cohen is here, David Earhart is here, Sukanya Guha is here, and Yen Tran is here. I got everyone, I think. And then staff members present at this point is Nick Shegda, and we do expect Sean Reinhart to join us soon. Nick is the Assistant Library Services Director, and Sean, who I think will be joining us, is the Director of Library and Community Services. And Nick is also the staff liaison for the Library Commission. Nick, would you kindly provide instructions to the Library Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Sure, thank you. So commissioners, we're gonna run the meeting just like we normally do. If you could keep your camera on during the meeting and your microphone off. If you want to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair before you begin your comment. Members of the public will call for public comment at various points throughout the meeting. If you wish to make public comment, then please engage that raise hand function and I will call on you and unmute you so that you can make your comment. And that's all I have.
Great. Okay. So next is public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the Library Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Library Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The Library Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Library Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Nick, first of all, do we have any members of the public with us tonight? I think you're on mute.
We do have a couple of members of the public with
Okay,
us.
in that case, can you call for the public comment, please?
Sure, if anyone would like to make a public comment on an item not on the agenda, please engage that raise hand feature or type a message into chat and I can recognize you. And I do not see anyone raising their hand for general public comment at this time.
Okay, well then, just for the public record, Sean Reinhart has joined the meeting. So, okay, so now we'll move to regular business. Under regular business, the Library Commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require the Library Commission approval. And item C1 is to approve the minutes from the August 17th, 2020 Library Commission meeting. The minutes were attached to our agenda. So any clarifying questions from the commission before taking public comment on this item? No. Okay.
I have a comment. Actually, I noticed a typo on the minutes in that I had copied the new minutes onto the old minutes, and I have a section there at the top where I talked about introducing the new library commissioners, and that's obviously carried over from our July meeting. So I will make that change for these minutes.
Yes, I noticed that at first too, and thought, were these the right minutes? But I thought that was probably what happened. Okay. Nick, do we have any public comment on this issue?
If anyone would like to make public comment on the approval of the minutes or the minutes from the last meeting, please raise your hand. I do not see any.
Okay, then we're open for library commission discussion. Is there any discussion about the minutes from last time? Anyone? No? In that case, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, I see.
Happy to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Alan's made a motion, and it looks like Mayrin is seconding the
With
motion.
the friendly amendment of what Nick said.
Yes, amended with what, correct. So they would be all in favor of approving the minutes as amended by Nick's comments.
So I go through and do a roll call. Unfortunately, we have to do them one at a time.
Oh, okay.
So I'll start with Commissioner Earhart,
Yes. Yay.
Commissioner Cohen,
Yay.
Commissioner Tran,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunyagic,
Yes.
Commissioner Guha,
Yes.
and Commissioner Hadrovich.
Yes.
All right. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. All right, item C2, assign commission liaisons to other affiliate groups. This item is continued from the August 17th, 2020 meeting. Nick is going to make a very brief verbal presentation, recap of historical precedent and utility of past practice. And the commission requested meeting times, dates for affiliate groups.
So I'll probably be even briefer than that. This item was discussed at our last meeting, and the commission wasn't quite ready to make appointments at that time. They wanted to hear a little bit about what the various affiliate groups were doing. So I went ahead and reached out to all of the affiliate groups again to check and see what they were doing. The Friends of the Library is still meeting second Monday of each quarter at 1 p.m. Their next upcoming meeting is Monday, October 12th at 1. And they're happy to have an informational liaison from the Library Commission. You just have to reach out to the president and the secretary of the Friends of the Library. The Historical Association, as Ms. Jones told us at our last meeting, is meeting on the first Tuesday of the month from 2 to 3. I spoke to the president of the Historical Association, and he would like to ask the board at their October meeting if they were okay with having a Library Commission member actually sitting in on the board meetings, attending the board meetings. So, but he just wanted to clear that with his board before he said okay. Literacy Partners, which is the new name of, used to be called Project Read Literacy Partners. They meet the third Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. They haven't established a policy regarding attendance of informational liaisons at their board meetings, but they seemed open to it and open to connecting with the commission in general and improving communication there. The president is Mike Goodkind, and we can reach out to him. And then the Menlo Park Library Foundation meets on the fourth Thursday of the month by Zoom from 11 to 12. And the president is Elise Stein. So going over that again quickly, it's Foundation, fourth Thursday, 11 to 12. Literacy Partners, third Wednesday at 6:30 by Zoom. Historical Association is currently meeting in person, 2 to 3 p.m. on the first Tuesday of the month. And the Friends of the Library meet the second Monday of each quarter by Zoom at 1 p.m. So that is my report. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
So I just have one clarifying question. Would we need, when people sign up, if someone has an interest but they had a conflict, do we need to have people actually going to these board meetings? I know that's probably the optimal experience, but if someone was a liaison, really we're just hoping that they can communicate with that organization and then keep us in the loop of what's going on and vice versa. Is that right?
I think that's correct. I mean, this is a position that's sort of created by the Library Commission. It's not an official thing. It's an informational liaison. So I think whatever works for you guys and whatever works for getting the flow of information from the library affiliate groups to the library commission back and forth is good.
Okay, thank you. Any other clarifying questions from the commission before we take public comment on this? No, nobody? Okay. Nick, would you see if there's any public comment on this item?
Asking now for public comment. If anyone has public comment, use that raise hand feature or type something into the chat window. I'm not seeing any public comment on this item.
Okay, well then, why don't we open this for a library commission discussion? I think I've mentioned it in the past, but just to remind everyone, I actually already do sit on the Menlo Park Library Foundation board, so I'm happy to be the liaison for that, although if anyone else was interested in and wanted to participate, I have no objection to that. Okay, any other discussion? Anyone have an interest in any of those particular groups that they'd like to throw their hat in the ring for? Yes, go ahead. Oh, ever. Okay, hang on. Let me go through. I don't have everybody. Sukanya, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm definitely interested in the Friends of the Library and the literacy, group. But if someone else, is also interested, I would, definitely give them a choice to, go ahead and decide on which one they would want to join.
Do you have a preference on those two or equal?
Equal.
Okay. Mayrin, you were the next person with your hand up.
I think I'm interested in the reads one, maybe being more of a just connecting. I don't know the other ones because I'm teaching all of those Zoom times. I wouldn't be able to commit to any of the other ones. But just being a teacher to the read one, the last one.
Literacy Partners, is that?
The Project Reads, yeah, that one I think. I would be interested in maybe just being able to email communication or phone call, but maybe not, depending on if I can get to the meeting. I just know for me with my teaching obligations, most of those meetings are during my teaching times.
Sure, totally makes sense. And if somebody's schedule is busy, please don't feel like everyone has to do one of these. It's not, you don't need to overdo it. For point of clarification, Nick, is Literacy Partners formerly Project Read?
Well, the library's program is still called Project Read. The name of the 501c3 used to be called Project Read Menlo Park Literacy Partners, and now they're just called Literacy Partners. So they were sort of broadening their scope a little bit. I think their focus is still the library and our Project Read program, but they were also interested in branching out and taking advantages of some literacy opportunities elsewhere in the community.
Okay.
But if people can attend the actual meeting, I can be the alternate if that works out, just because of my limitations of schedules.
Sure. Okay, David, I think you raised your hand also. Did you want to comment?
Yes, thank you. I mean, I too am interested in the Literacy Partners activity. I mean, it looks like from my schedule, one Wednesday a month at 6:30, I could probably make those. So if there's interest in having somebody who can attend the meeting.
Okay. Okay. Anyone interested in Menlo Park Historical Association or Friends of the Library? If not, oh, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, could you repeat their hours? My recollection was that they're during the day, both of those. So
Yeah,
that I think
correct.
that was, so I mean, the tragedy is I'm very interested in all of these organizations, but the problem is I work during the day. And I don't want to commit to something that I know that overwhelmingly, just like Mayrin was saying, my schedule is full of Zoom. I'm Zooming all day long, 5 days a week. I'm over Zoomed. Actually.
Definitely, Alan. I think if you would be interested in at least taking on initially liaison for the Friends, you could just reach out, probably have a chat at your own convenience with someone on their board once a month or so, just to find out what's going on in the chair.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of the people that are on that anyway, so I'm happy to do that.
And then if it seems like that's not really working well for you, I mean, for any of us, if any of these, you know, additional commitments we make don't seem to be working well, we can always revisit it and reassign, or one of us can, you know, pitch in for someone else.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing you say, you know, when you and I joined this library committee quite some time ago, there really wasn't much in the way of crosstalk and representation on the various committees. I mean, we had to invite them into our meetings just so we could hear what's going on and start an open communication. And I think the movement was to try to embed ourselves in some capacity with them, so that there would always be an opportunity for them to not necessarily have to attend these meetings and report, but rather we would serve in that capacity. So I think any effort that we can make, I mean, even something as simple as just asking some of these organizations if they would be kind enough to share their regular meeting summaries or highlights, or if there's something relevant or important that they think we should be knowing about, to make sure that, you know, I don't want to give them more work, but that they make sure that they let us know, and then we'll make every effort to try to be there. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this is the right thing to do, and why don't you add me as a liaison to that group, and I'm happy to see what I can do there.
Okay. Menlo Park Historical Association, anyone have any interest? Any of the teachers? As I said, I went to one of their ice cream socials. Jim, who's very involved with them, typically would come to most of our meetings, and a lot of times had a public comment that was also a mini little lesson on the history of Menlo Park, and it's really interesting. But if no one else is interested, I'm happy to just be a liaison with them, and I may not go to all of their meetings, but I can check in with them and just find out what's going on. So so it looks like we have 3 people interested in literacy partners. We could do a rotation. You could all talk amongst yourselves, or a couple people could drop out. I mean, over interest is not a bad thing. So, you know, I'll leave it to the 3 of you maybe to decide now if somebody definitely wants to do it.
I'm willing to back out for now, just with my commitments with school. So, and then I'll, you know, when I can, go in there.
Okay. And Sukanya, David, either of you?
So sorry. Yeah. So I'm teaching as well right now, so I can definitely be a liaison, but I don't know whether I'll be able to attend every meeting as such on Zoom, because I'm tutoring as well as teaching right now. So I'm completely open to being a liaison. But if David wants to, you know, go in for it, you know, I'm completely okay with that.
I can certainly appreciate teachers among us who are suddenly teaching in a way you never planned to, maybe are feeling a little, I don't want to define it as overwhelmed, but it's a whole new world for that. So David, if you felt like your schedule accommodated it right now, maybe you might want to take it on for now, and we could revisit it later when the life goes back to a little bit more of normal.
That'd be fine with me. I mean, if somebody else to pick it up later on, just let me know.
Does that sound good to everybody? Because it sounds like we've touched on all 4 of them then. So
what I heard was Commissioner Earhart is going to be the liaison for literacy partners, Commissioner Cohen for the Friends of the Library, and Chair Hadrovich liaison for both and the Historical Association.
Sure. And then, you know, the only thing that I would add to this is that when Kristen joins the meeting, or if she's not able to join us, maybe we can just ask her if she might be interested in historical, because if she says yes, then I'm happy to spread the wealth. So, all right, do we need a motion or anything for this? I don't think we do, because we've all volunteered for something. Is that right?
I don't know, Sean, what do you think? Do we need to make a motion to assign informational liaisons? It's probably not a bad idea to do it. No? I don't know.
It's really the commission's discretion. If you want to take the vote and formalize it, you can.
I think we did a motion at the last meeting that we were going to do this. So now it's just a matter of us all volunteering to do those. But I mean, does somebody want to just, oh, Kristen's here. Why don't we just see if she's at all interested? Hi, Kristen, can you hear us? And can we hear you? Do you want to go off on mute for a minute?
I'm guessing you probably can hear me.
Okay. Okay. So for members of the public that may not be familiar, Commissioner Kristen Leap has just joined us. Kristen, we were just talking about commissioners serving as liaisons to the various library partners, and we have volunteers for everyone but the Menlo Park Historical Association, which I was willing to do in addition to serving on the Library Foundation board. But if you were interested and have the time in your life right now for the Menlo Park Historical Association, you would be able to take that on. And if it feels overwhelming to you and you want to revisit it later, the other teachers on our commission have also said that they might want to just wait till the pandemic learning settles in a little.
Or until, like, I mean, like, are we switching to a new modality? Like, do I have to learn to teach kids in another completely different way? Like, oh, so fun. Teaching this year is quite dramatic. I think that it might be best to revisit.
Okay. In that case, we'll leave it as we've stated. Does someone want to just make a motion to approve these liaison volunteers? Okay. Mayrin, I see, has made the motion. Okay. And Sukanya has seconded it. All in favor? Put your hand up.
Oh, I'll go ahead and do the roll call again for our person. We have someone who's just listening by phone. So
so we're going to do that every time. Okay.
Right. So the motion is to assign Chair Hadrovich as the informational liaison to the Library Foundation and the Menlo Park Historical Association, Commissioner Earhart for the Literacy Partners, and Commissioner Cohen for the Friends of the Library. Commissioner Earhart, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen? Commissioner Leap?
In favor.
All right. Commissioner Tran?
Yes.
Commissioner Guha?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bunyagi?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
And me, I vote in favor too.
I'm sorry, I left you off till the end. Chair Hadrovich says
Less
yes.
of me is more, I know, okay.
Now it passes unanimously.
Okay, give me a second just to keep up with the notes. All right, so it looks like now we are on C3, review, discuss Menlo Park Community Campus Project updates. This project was previously called the Bellhaven Community Center and Library. There was a staff report, and we are going to have brief verbal updates from staff on staff report and the current status of the BHCC and L, but now known as the MPCC.
Great, I can go ahead and give you some quick updates. So this item is mainly to call your attention to the staff report from last Tuesday. The City Council did approve the term sheet and the timeline and the other items, the additional items that needed approval at that September 15th meeting. It's coming back to Council. It's going to the project is going to the Planning Commission on October 5th at their meeting, so that's the next sort of milestone. And then it's tentatively scheduled to come back to the council for some more detailed discussion, especially about the additional items like the pool and the Red Cross shelter and the microgrid and the generators and those sorts of things, replacing the water main. There were a few other things in that staff report that were called out that would be city responsibilities. And that discussion is going to be taken up by the council on October 13th, tentatively. The general gist is that the project is moving forward again, and with the Planning Commission meeting and then the City Council meeting, it's on track to be approved, the whole project to be approved by the City Council in January of next year. That would mean decommissioning or deconstruction in summer of 2021, and a completed project 18 months or so after that. So you're looking at 2023 for completion of the project. So we just wanted to, staff just wanted to sort of bring it back up again. I think probably we'll be talking about this at the Library Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission meeting from now until the project is approved, and probably beyond, because we'll probably be talking about things like interim services plans as those get put forward and start to get shaped early next year. So that was the reason for this item, just to sort of keep you guys in the loop, make you aware of what's going on, and sort of let you know what the next steps are. That I'm happy to answer any questions, and Sean will probably come in hopefully and help me out if I don't know the answer to something.
Okay, so any clarifying questions from the commission before we take public comment? David, did you have one? Or did you want to wait till after public comment?
Well, I'll wait till after public comment. I have some questions for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have a clarifying, Kristen?
Yes, I would love to know, if I can, why it changed from the Bellhaven whatever to the Menlo Park whatever. Is that just to like suggest that it includes all of Menlo Park and not only Bellhaven, or can we get some more information about that?
Sure, that's a great question. Partially, it's because the new name, the old name, the old project name. I have to make a distinction between the project name, which is sort of the name that we're using as we work through the process, and the actual name of the facility, which hasn't been determined and won't be determined until after the City Council approves the project, so in January. And there will probably be another process, a public process, about naming the facility itself. So the project name started out, the working name was Bellhaven Community Center and Library. But as we went along, we realized that we were leaving out some pretty major functions, the pool, the youth center, and the senior center. And so decided to change the name and make it a little more inclusive of all the functions that were going to be there. But also it is going to be, while it's located in Bellhaven and is aimed primarily to serve the Bellhaven neighborhood, chances are a brand new facility like that is going to be used by the entire city of Menlo Park. So that's why the project name changed. Good question. Did you have a follow-up? Oops, I can't hear your audio. Could you type it in chat? Okay, she's typing it in chat. Go ahead. I will read her. Okay, here the Commissioner Leap's question is, if the health situation changes next summer, could we postpone the dismantling so the center could be enjoyed next summer and then take it apart? Good question. I don't know. I don't think that they want to delay the project any more than they already have. It's already been delayed about 6 months. Facebook is interested in moving it along as quickly as possible so that the residents can get a facility that they can use. But you don't really know what's going to happen with the pandemic situation. My guess is you know, we're going to have to decommission the current facilities at some point so that construction can happen. And we're going to be really focused end of this year, early next year on those interim services, on how we're going to provide those interim services and make them easy for everyone to use during that construction process. So I guess the answer is I don't really know. I don't really know what the future brings, but I don't think they're planning on pausing that timeline. If they can get the design approved by the city council and approved in January, then summer is when things will be deconstructed. We're getting 6 months more out of the center and the facilities there than we thought we were going to get. So we thought we were going to be on the original timeline, decommissioning and deconstructing in around the holidays.
Okay, anybody else have a clarifying question? If not, why don't we open it up to public comment?
All right, if any member of the public would like to make a comment, would you please engage that little hand raise feature, and then I will call on you. Looks like we have a person who would like to comment, and that is Pam Jones. Pam, I'm gonna pull up a timer here because I'm unprepared. And then I'll go ahead and unmute you and you can make your public comment. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pamela Jones, resident of Menlo Park, Bellhaven neighborhood. And I just want to always keep on people's minds that more than likely by the time the new community center is completed, we may have up to 3,000 more residents just right over the railroad track in the now corporate area. So this center will also be convenient and serving them as well as the rest of Menlo Park. I also wanted to note that the council did discuss how, if there are ways to ensure that community has first access, particularly when they work out things with the pool. And so you didn't even need the timer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Are there any other public comments that would like to be made? Please use that raised hand feature so I can recognize you. Seeing none at this time, bring it back up here for discussion by the Library Commission.
Okay, David, did you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. I am curious to some feedback from the staff on the proposed layout of the facility. I mean, we saw kind of detail. First of all, I was surprised about the pool because I think originally that what the pool was going to be, out of the picture. But the split level aspect of the library is the staff contemplating challenges or opportunities offered by the multi-level arrangement they proposed so far?
Yeah, I mean, if you can remember back to January, February, where we had the public meetings where we were gathering input about the facility back then, it's kind of hard to cast your mind back pre-COVID times, but it was envisioned at that time as a 3-story facility. And that was going to be, I think, pose some operational challenges for the staff. If we had 3 levels to cover, I think that would have taken some additional staff. We were thinking of ways to do like a 2nd level that was sort of almost completely self-service and was maybe meeting rooms that would be sort of managed by technology and maybe security badges or something, security cards to get you into different rooms. 2 levels is not as big of a stretch, I don't think. I think the staff were looking at operationally the building being active the entire day, but different areas of the building being active at different times of day. And so trying to staff more for different times of day rather than different areas. Since January, we also had a merger of the two departments that are going to be operating the building. And so I think there is a lot of opportunities for cross-training and synergy with programs and staff there that may not have been, the connection might not have been as tight as it is now. I don't know if you want to chime in there, Sean, on your thoughts on that. I don't look at the library being split between two levels as being a particular staffing challenge, maybe not any more than the library now with like the children's department and the adult department post staffing challenges. So I'll turn it over to Sean, see if he has any comments there.
No, you covered it pretty well, Nick. I think the only thing I would add is that we intend to make prolific use of self-service and automation technology to make, especially like the adult library materials, very like self-service and not really needing a lot of staff intervention. Although staff is there. Also, I think the other just major efficiency of the building is that there are 5 separate facilities, right? You know, there's the library, separate building, senior center, separate building, youth center is kind of integrated into the whole building, and then the United Harris Center, all with their own entrances and reception counters. And so by going to a single facility, there really are just like it's kind of been reduced to 3 kind of main reception areas on the ground floor. So we think we'll be able to staff the facility without, you know, major increases to current staffing levels. When I say current, I mean pre-COVID, but just because of the efficiencies that the design provides.
Yeah.
I have a question. I was listening to the city council, and if I recall, maybe it was when the Facebook architect, one of their people was talking and saying that there is still some discussion taking place about how the layout will be allocated, and that there's a lot of different uses that want the ground floor versus being on top, and I think there was some talk about, and you mentioned it briefly, about using the space differently based on the time of day. The sense I was trying to get from that is whether or not all parts of the library will flow together in some way, or if, like the children's section, you'll have to leave the library to go out to where the adults are, or whether there will be a staircase within the library section so that, you know, kids and parents are kind of near each other, or there's a direct route to it. My kids are all grown, but I know that, you know, I would sometimes put them in the children's section to browse a little and take a quick run over to the areas that I wanted to grab a book. And I do wonder whether or not there will be some concerns from parents if it's too disjointed and you're running through different things. So that's not a problem I have anymore, but I do recall that feeling of security that we were all in the same place and the kids knew the route pretty easily. So anyway, I'm wondering about your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, those kinds of thoughts about how the building is going to be used by a family are top of mind for the design team, and thinking about it less like a library and a gym and a senior center and a pool, and thinking about it more like a new thing that's a community center. So the library staff are thinking about ways to incorporate library bits into different parts of the building. So you would have, maybe you'd have materials that are available throughout the facility, depending on function. So the seniors have a game room, and maybe there are books and materials that are popular or appropriate for seniors in that section. The teens have a maker space and a teen space upstairs. but they might also be down in the game room if there are pool tables, which there are now in the senior lounge. The children's, the youth center, having proximity to the children's library component, but also maybe having children's materials, library materials in the youth center available there. And as from what I've seen, they haven't nailed down the floor plan yet, but they're making decisions and keeping top of mind how people get from one area to another, how it flows. So they're thinking about that, Katie. They haven't worked out the floor plan yet exactly, but sort of the blocks, they're moving them around, and there's looks to be good flow upstairs and downstairs, because the seniors want to go from, say, their lunchroom up to a classroom to take a class where there's like a pottery class on the second floor, which is right now where those sorts of smaller meeting spaces, breakout craft room kind of places are. So they're looking to make it accessible from all parts of the building for the seniors, and that goes for the kids and the parents going from the children's library, which right now that component is on the ground floor near a big like story time area that's outside. But there's a stairway that goes up sort of centrally to the second floor that leads into the, I'm trying to remember this from the sketches that I've seen, to the adult component of the library, the reading room part of the library, and the classroom parts of the library. But there's also an elevator that goes up. I think there's 2 elevators now, one on either end of the building. So there's pretty good access up and down between the sections.
So I have 2 follow-ups. First, I'm wondering, when you say they, you've used they a few times. Who are you referring to exactly?
Well, they would be us, I guess. It's not really they. It's
I mean, I couldn't
Facebook,
figure out if you meant staff of
they.
Menlo Park or if you meant
It's Hart Howerton, which is the architect team. It's Facebook, so the folks who are the development folks from Facebook, and it's staff from the city, so public works staff and library and community services staff. That's the they. It's Sean and I are in that room, so it's
okay.
us.
All right. So thank you. And the other thing that I just wondered is, because this sounds like an interesting hybrid that could be amazing or it could be a disaster, especially in a community that is really been focused and adamant about wanting an adequate library in Belhaven. So what I'm wondering about is, are there some examples in other places of these type of hybrid spaces that blend all of these different functions and do it successfully, and what the feedback has been on that you've looked at that, and if it has been shared? I'm sorry, I haven't realized it was shared, but I'd be interested in knowing that type of information, because we're really, diving off a leap of faith here that we're going to put all of these parts together and Mr. Potato Head's going to be awesome. But, I just wonder what type of historical context for this type of design there is.
Sure. I mean, I understand that concern. I visited with library staff a couple of facilities that the city of San Jose runs, where they have a senior center and community services, so like exercise classes kind of functions, and a library together. The city of San Jose has a couple of those, but they tend to be more sort of distinct in that, like, the community center is in the front, and then the youth center is over there, and then the library is in the back. I think you're right. What we're talking about trying is something that's a little different than that, where we might have library spaces or library function, what we think of as library functions, kind of throughout the building, depending on who we were trying to reach. I think, though, overriding all of that is the idea that the building, the interior of the building should be as flexible as possible. So we're not going to be able to move a gym around from place to place, and we're probably not going to be able to move around a large program room or something of the size that the seniors use for their dining, their lunch room now. But a lot of the other functions could move around if they design it properly.
I'm a little concerned with all the floating around of spaces and uses that the library use could get lost. And, you know, some of the value of a library is young people, for example, come into the library and they discover because there's a continuity to the space and they can move around in it. And if there's things that would be of interest to them, but they don't know about it, and it's in a designated other space that they would never have any reason to go into, you know, I'm definitely just optimistic, but concerned, because what I'm hearing is that we aren't really delivering a library. and me, I really want it, I want there to be absolutely identifiable by any definition that this is a library.
So right now, the way it's laid out is the referencing like things that need to be on the first floor. So the children's library is on the first floor. It's actually right by the front entrance. So I think, you know, when people come to the building, it will be inescapable that there's a library there, no question. The children's library is front and center. Also, there's an outdoor kind of like book return, automated book return slot right by the exterior. So it'll be pretty evident that a library is in this building. Regarding like dividing the library into 2 floors, very common for a 2-story library to have children's typically on the first floor, and then any kind of checkout stations being on the first floor. And then generally speaking, as you ascend higher into the building, that's usually where you get into a more quiet, reflective spaces, like the adult collections, like where you might have classrooms or study rooms. So to kind of have the more busy, sort of not rambunctious, but bustling activity on the ground floor, and then the more quiet stuff upstairs. So I don't think folks will have too much, I don't think the library will get lost, because right now, the way it's designed, the library is basically in the center of the building. And as you kind of go to one side, you kind of enter into the gym, fitness center, access to the pool, that kind of sporty side of the building. And then as you kind of go to the right-hand side, you go kind of toward the senior center space, the dining hall, the large community event room, and some other spaces. So it's divided into some pretty distinct wings with the library in the center. I think folks will kind of be able to identify the various parts pretty clearly just from the way it's laid.
And maybe as more of this develops, either all of these concerns will just fade away or they'll really intensify by more people, because, you know, I am mindful that one of the big complaints about the current Belhaven Library has been that it was primarily for children. Adults didn't feel either they didn't have access for a while, or they didn't feel comfortable there during the day. And so if we're shifting uses around too much, I don't want to get into a position where we're right back with the problem we had with the Belhaven Library as it exists now, that there's no place for that person, that adult person that wants to go in at 10 a.m. when the seniors are also doing some senior functions. So all of this is just, you know, I just want to highlight these concerns and be assured that you have a plan for that and it's all going to be good, but that all of those things are being taken into consideration by the people that are designating how the flow of this is going to be. And I see that Kristen has a comment as well, so I'll let her go.
You don't want the library to be like Costco, where all of a sudden they move your favorite thing and then it's gone forever because you can't find it. Like if there's too much moving around.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think my description of it was probably a lot looser than the thought process that's going into it. Because I'm thinking more of the opportunities of, you know, having library functions overlapping with other functions that might be active and might give us access to folks who might not come into a library necessarily. And here I'm thinking, here's an opportunity for the library to get access to these folks who are coming and exercising maybe. You know, you wouldn't think of folks on the treadmill or something necessarily using the library, but there could be a lot of crossover. And the youth center, there could be a whole lot of crossover with the programs and the collections of the library. There will still be those spaces for quiet reading for adults. There'll be those breakout spaces that we heard about in the Belhaven space needs study from the community. They wanted, you know, community gathering spaces. Folks wanted smaller study rooms and tutoring rooms that could be used. They wanted space for kids. They wanted space for teens. So all of those functions that were expressed in the space needs study for the library are going to be there in the new building.
Nick, I just to follow up on a point I made a little bit earlier, I really would still be very interested whether the architects, whether anyone working on this actually has some reporting on any place in the US that has built a similar facility with all of these different moving parts to it, and what the community feedback was once it was built, and also what the staff reporting was once it was built. If there's something like that that comes into any reports, or, you know, just is made use of, or they've made use of while they were drafting it, but maybe not made it available yet. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, there's various combos out there, but I will say that I think it's safe to say that no one else in the entire world is building a library, fitness center, senior center, youth center, pool that is funded by Facebook.
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
completely unique. It's a completely unique facility in that regard. But there's examples even nearby, like Palo Alto's Mitchell Park arrangement. I mean, it's kind of a library on one side and sort of like some recreation facility on the other side.
But when we went to tour that facility, we got feedback from the librarians that it really didn't work that well. So
yeah, well, you know,
I don't
Palo
know
Alto's a good library, but it's not as good as ours. So.
Anyway, but I am actually thinking about the tour that the library, Nick and I went on, and I'm not sure if Alan went on it, but a lot of the library commissioners went. It was one of the first things I did when I joined the library commission, and it was an eye-opener to me because I was listening to a library director talk about her disappointment with what they got after the excitement of building it. So, you know, I think that cautionary tale is well worth listening to. And I'm not as resistant to all of this as I seem with these questions, but I just want to make sure that, you know,
you know what I think is
a gift, but
yeah.
Is it what we want? Is it what we need?
I think another just huge advantage that we now have is that it is a single department that will be operating the facility. I think previously just sort of trying to contemplate how would the actual integration inside work, because you can design it to look great and function great. It's more about operationally, how does it work? And now that the department is combined, I think that will be a lot easier to achieve, like a full integration. And that's one of the, in talking to some other directors and other folks who have like combined facilities and combined departments, the number one complaint I hear from them is that they really never fully kind of integrated. And so they didn't get all that good stuff, the synergy that you want to get, because it still ended up being like sort of parallel facilities that just happen to be next to each other, or parallel departments that happen to be, you know, by name a combined department. So in this case, I think it'll be hard to find facilities that exactly match this one because of the level that we're going with the integration. But there's like examples we can find that maybe have different components. Like there's the Reach Ashland Youth Center in the East Bay that's more focused on a youth center. It has like a little library, reading room, has fitness area, has a health clinic. So that's kind of the variable. And it is also on an elementary school site. So you can find a lot of different facilities that have different sort of mix and match parts to them that work to varying degrees of success.
All right, well, thanks. So that's answers to all the things that I've raised. Is there anybody else that wanted to weigh in on this item? Anybody? No? Okay, oh yeah, go ahead. Yen, go ahead.
I guess I'm curious what the what our role is going to be in this. So I did take a look at the project schedule that that they've set forth, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, what is it that we are going to be doing in this in this process? So I'm curious to hear what ideas folks have about what is it that we're going to be doing.
Thank you for asking. In a typical kind of public design project, like the library commission would probably be more involved in the actual building design process. But this particular facilities, it's not really totally a public project in that Facebook is just offered to build it. And so with that comes, some certain sort of assumptions or just sort of directives that are coming forward, like Facebook is using their architect, Howerton. They've done quite a bit of community work, but ultimately they're like, we're ready to just design this thing and build it. And so not so much in the design of the building, but when it comes to the operations of the building, what type of programming should be there, how should the user experience be when people come into this building, to what extent do we want to use automation and self-service and still consider that to be in alignment with what people expect out of the library experience, and the policies, who gets to use the meeting rooms, how should people be given the opportunity to take books out of there without checking them out at all, for example. Lots of little like policy kind of or big policy discussions. So I think that would be between now and the time the building opens, really weighing in on the library's operations plan for the new facility would be a major thing that the Library Commission can do to help the project.
Yeah, I might add that the Library Commission has always been sort of a forum for members of the public who are concerned about the library to come and talk to the Library Commission. And then the Library Commission advises the City Council on the library's operations. So providing another way for members of the community to talk about what their concerns are and bringing those concerns to the attention of the City Council.
Speaking of that, do you know when we will be in front of the City Council again, when we're expected to have a report?
Well, we're supposed to do it annually. And now that your work plan has been approved, the city clerk is working on scheduling the various advisory board work plans, because they need to be approved by the City Council. So that would probably be a great opportunity for one or two members of the commission to go before the City Council and give them a brief update as well.
All right. Yen, did you have any? Go ahead.
Okay, so just to confirm, it seems like all of the outreach and sort of public comments have been collected already by Facebook, and that they're sort of pretty much ready to sort of build the building, however it is, based on those comments that they've already received. So it seems like we'll just be waiting for the library. So sort of once library staff develop some of those policies, we would be able to review them, or is that going to be things that we as the commission would need to bring up for consideration? Or I guess I'm just still trying to figure out exactly what.
Yeah, That's a great question. It's like a little bit of both. I think it's mostly the staff saying, okay, we need to get a collection development policy for the library books in the library. And oh, hey, we're looking at, these different types of self-checkout machines, and would like the library commission to kind of weigh in on which ones you think are going to work best. And in some cases, the library commission might say, hey, you know what, we've been hearing from a lot of residents that we really want every student in Menlo Park to automatically get a library card to this great new facility. Can we make that happen? So it kind of goes both ways. Another element I forgot to mention, two more elements that I think the Library Commission will be integral in, is we do have to furnish the building. We do have to kind of, they're building the walls and the floors and the systems and everything, but there's a little matter of the furnishings, which the city is actually obligated to pay for. And that's a whole other set of just sort of discussion points about what kind of furnishings, what should the look and feel be like, what are some of those other elements that are not attached to the building. For example, manipulative installations for small children that you might see in children's libraries, and all those things. And then the other thing is public art. I think right now the early intention is to be intentional about the artwork that is displayed in the building, whether it's commissioned specifically for the site or whether it's sort of curated from local artists. And I could imagine the Library Commission playing a role in, kind of those pieces that are used to really highlight the building through art. And then of course, just the policy thing that we already mentioned.
Yeah, I might also add that it's not just the comments that Facebook received at the sort of design workshops that they had in January and February. The library had been on kind of a multi-year process to try to get a new branch library built, and we did several studies where we had focus groups and interviews and questionnaires and surveys over the period of a few years on what folks in the community wanted in a new library. So we do have a lot of really good information to be working on. And the Community Services Department at the time had also done a Parks and Rec Facilities Master Plan. They did a pool analysis, and they did a neighborhood services analysis also over the past 3-4 years. So there's a lot of good information out there that Hart-Howerton had to start with as well.
Okay, Yen, are you satisfied? Did you want to ask anything else? Okay, anybody else have anything else they wanted to say at this point on that? All right, I don't think we have anything to make a motion on, right? We're just moving on to the next. Okay, I appreciate all these nods to make sure that I'm following the agenda the right way. Okay, so now we are at the review and update of the Library Commission agenda calendar. And it doesn't look like, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have anything here that we need to ask for public comment. Is that a mistake, or do we need to ask for public?
Usually you don't ask for public comment on your calendar.
Just wanted to make sure, because
unless someone necessarily wants to ask that something be added to the public calendar, I guess. I can pull it up here if you give me a second. My apologies for not having it up sooner. Here we go. All right, let me know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Yes?
I think we're okay, because if there was a public comment about something that's not on it, that would be at the beginning, and then we would perhaps put it on there. So I think we can just move to our discussion of the agenda.
So it looks like we've got teed up for October. Definitely another discussion about the community campus. I think that'll be probably ongoing. We probably will have either a formal request for a proposal or at least a draft RFP that will be released, talking about a new integrated library system to prepare for the library separating from the Peninsula library system. We will have some draft stuff to talk about the new Library and Community Services Strategic Plan. So the commissioners who were on the Library Commission last year when the library did their previous strategic plan will be familiar with this process. We'll be bringing that to the Library Commission and to the Parks and Rec Commission as we go forward. And then we have something talking about services to seniors and the homebound. That's been hanging around for a while, and I think with the pandemic it just got kind of kicked down, but we're gonna take a try and see if we can have a discussion about that, both our current services to seniors and the sort of pandemic response services to seniors as well, and maybe what services might look like with a combined department. So that's what we've got teed up right now for October.
Okay. Anyone have any comment, anything that you would like to see for October or on the calendar schedule anywhere? And I can't see everyone while we're sharing your screen, so I'm assuming there's not any comment. If there is, please don't wait for me to recognize you. Okay. All right, if that's the case, then I don't think we need to spend any more time on it. It looks like we're gonna have a pretty busy October. Is October or November, either of those months, one where we have to have our meeting on a different date?
I don't think so.
No?
No, that's in for Monday
That's
meetings.
January and February.
It tends to be the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, it tends to be January, February, where there's a conflict.
MLK and President's Day that are on the third Monday.
Okay, all right. Okay, then if that's the case, it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, we are at informational items. D, is that right, Nick? Okay. Informational items are transmitted to the Library Commission in staff's efforts to provide an update on matters of importance to the Commission. Informational items are not action items, however. A commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. Nick, do you want to see if we have a public comment on informational items before we proceed?
Sure, I'll open it up to anyone wanting to make a public comment on the library and community services updates. I do not see a comment on the LCS updates.
Okay, so D1 then is Library and Community Services Department update. We had a staff report, and Sean is available to answer any questions about his department update. Sean, did you want to say anything about your departmental update to us?
No, I would just refer Commissioner's report. It covers the online suggestion box, community event listings, a brief report on the library curbside pickup service, then some updates about food assistance in Menlo Park, and cooling centers.
Yes. Okay, Mayrin has a comment. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I looked through all the suggestion box online and really appreciate the thoughtfulness of your reply, Sean and Nick, especially seeing there was one for a teacher specifically, and just, you know, even all the other ones, just that, you know, that it's nice to know that so we have these services, and I, as a resident, have taken part in on the curbside, the seeds, the my child is in the child cares, and then my students now have the learning pods that are available now at the Aneta Center. So it's nice to know that things are happening and these services are being available to a lot of different parts of Menlo Park, and especially with this time, you know, with the pandemic, that we are able to, as a city, provide these services despite all the obstacles. It's happening. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Great comment. I agree. David, go ahead. I saw your hand up quickly.
Yeah, I shouldn't have been amazed, I suppose, but I was impressed by the number and volume of the curbside, you know, the number of holds and stuff that's been distributed, like in August. I know I had a rough start with it. The first two pickups I had at the senior center didn't work very well. The last two have worked flawlessly, so I do know it can work when it's planned well. But no, that's great. Like I said, I really didn't have the sense for how many we were doing, but that's fantastic.
Okay, and Kristen, I saw you briefly had your hand up. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I was super impressed with like the responses to the questions and comments and how diplomatic they are, and that you never said, "Oh no, we don't do that." It was like, "Oh, well, here's where you can find out how to do that," which is not required, but which you did, which was great. Nice work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And anyone else have something? I did want to mention that I have participated in 2 of Nick's beer community events. And there's one this Thursday that my husband, when he saw that Nick's going to be showing the movie, was very excited. He may have to come alone because I have another event, but Nick's been doing a great job of quenching our thirst and teaching us about beer. And it's a really fun Thursday. What's the exact name? Quarantine something. I can't look at it while we're talking, but Nick, what is that?
It's, I think if it has an official title, it's Raise a Glass Quarantine Style.
Yes,
Yeah.
Raise the Glass Quarantine Style. It's really fun, and I think there's been a pretty good turnout, and I really appreciate that event, Nick, a whole lot. So, and I thought that, I agree, the comments and everything that was going on in that little report. I saw several things that, oh, that's interesting, that's interesting, that's interesting. So thank you for that report. Anybody else have any other comment on D1? If not, we'll move to advisory body member reports. No? Okay. Well then, let's move to advisory body member reports, which I guess is our commissioner reports, correct? Anyone
That's
have
correct. If anyone has any updates for the other members of the commission.
I don't think so. No. I guess I could give you a brief. I think that I have met as the Library Foundation once since our last meeting. And the Library Foundation is Nick and Sean, I think. Maybe just Nick was there last time. I can't remember. But, you know, the Library Foundation, which is tasked, they want to raise money to support the library builds, and they don't have a lot of information yet either. So we really haven't been doing much, but we are looking to just thank the people that have donated to the foundation in the past year with our solicitations. We were really gratified with the members of the community that have become members of the Library Foundation. If you're not a member, I encourage all of you to go check out the website and consider joining. We've got some cool swag gifts to people that join, and we're talking about now a thank you gift for being a member that is timely and pretty cool too coming up. So anyway, that's it on the Library Foundation. And so if nobody else has any others, I think we're ready to adjourn. Is that right, Nick?
That's right.
Yes. All right. Okay. Well, not bad. An hour 15, and I think we covered a lot. So thank you all for participating, and we'll see you next month. And thank you to the members of the public that came and were a part of our meeting.
Yes, thank you all very much. See you all next month if I don't see you at curbside before then.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
I'll be there tomorrow evening. You probably will have gone home by then. Anyway. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.